Killing babies, raping women, daily business for Auschwitz-Guard. Seems like not a pleasant job to me. Do you think so? Now you can't understand the gravity of this job unless you have testimonials, and that is the only way you can even comprehend a job like that. What would your life be as an Auschwitz-Guard? In 1942, Oskar Groening, just 21 at the time, found himself stationed at Auschwitz. His duty involved being at the ramp, the place where new groups of Jewish people arrived. His task was to help supervise the belongings of those arriving on transports. Standing there, Groening witnessed the heart-wrenching scenes as SS doctors separated families, men from women and children. These doctors, in a chilling process, decided who would be deemed fit for labor and who would be sent to the gas chambers for immediate death. Groening recalled the painful moments when sick individuals were loaded onto lorries, and, in a twisted attempt to deceive, these vehicles were marked with Red Cross symbols. The idea was to give the false impression that everything was safe and under control. It's important to recognize that Groening's later life became entangled in legal proceedings. In 2015, he faced trial in Germany and was convicted of being an accessory to the murder of 300,000 people for his role at Auschwitz. This case highlighted the difficult questions of accountability and justice for those involved in the horrific events of the Holocaust. Oskar Groening, who was just 21, saw something horrifying during his time at Auschwitz. He figures that about 80 to 90% of the people on the first transport he saw were picked to be killed right away. Describing what happened, Groening explained that the selection process seemed organized, but the aftermath was like a fairground, with heaps of belongings and ill people left behind. Children, who were helpless or had lost their parents, were callously killed, either shot or treated brutally. Struggling with his conscience, Groening went to his boss and told him he couldn't handle it anymore. He thought that if extermination was necessary, it should be done in a more controlled way. His boss acknowledged the brutality as an exception, but reminded him of the SS oath of allegiance and urged him to forget about leaving Auschwitz. What's striking is that Groening didn't protest against the idea of killing Jews, but rather how it was being done. He admitted having mixed feelings when facing people destined for the gas chambers. According to him, the propaganda had convinced him that killing Jews was a wartime necessity, similar to facing an enemy battalion in Russia. When asked about killing children, Groening coldly explained that kids weren't the enemy at the moment. The enemy was the Jewish blood in them. He believed that allowing them to grow up posed a potential threat as they could become dangerous Jews in the future. This shows the twisted ideology that fueled the horrors of the Holocaust. Oskar Groening's membership in the elite SS Corps initially secured him a position as a bookkeeper in SS administration. Rather than being dissatisfied, Groening found satisfaction in the role, appreciating the combination of a soldier's life with bureaucratic tasks. In September 1942, an order came through that healthy SS members in salary administration centers were to be transferred to more demanding duties, with administrative roles reserved for disabled veterans returning from the front. Groening and about 22 others expected to join a fighting unit and reported to Berlin. However, the usual process of going to a troop mustering place didn't happen. Instead, they were directed to an SS economic office in the capital, housed in a beautiful building. In a conference room, high-ranking SS officers addressed them, reminding them of their oath, emphasizing loyalty, and introducing a top-secret task. They were instructed to keep the details completely silent, not even sharing them with relatives, friends, or comrades. Each had to individually sign a statement to this effect in the courtyard of the building. Afterward, Groening and his comrades were divided into smaller groups, assigned specific destinations, and transported to various Berlin stations, where they boarded trains. Heading south toward Katowice, Their troop leader revealed that they had to report to the commandant of Auschwitz concentration camp. For Groening, who had never heard of Auschwitz before, this marked the beginning of a new and unforeseen chapter. Oscar Groening's initial perception of Auschwitz was that it was a normal concentration camp, detaining political prisoners or other perceived enemies of the state. He noted that, for SS members, the rations were notably good. However, his understanding shifted as he started the task of registering prisoners' money. During this process, Groening learned about an additional, unusual function of Auschwitz. Fellow workers informed him that the money taken from prisoners, especially Jews, did not go back to them. Curious, Groening asked if this was related to the nighttime transports arriving. His colleagues confirmed it, explaining that Jewish arrivals, if unable to work, were treated differently, and their money was taken without return. When Groening inquired about what treated differently meant, he was astonished by the answer. Groening arrived at Auschwitz when the Nazi extermination efforts were reaching a ruthlessly efficient pace. By the summer of 1942, just before his arrival, Auschwitz received transports of Jews from various European countries, solidifying its role as a key center for the Holocaust.